of shadows. Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese, and today's video is really exciting for me because it is part 2 of my mini conspiracy series that I've started here. My second last video, we dove into the Illuminati. I will have it linked down below. But for today's video, we are going to be diving into reptilians. Now I am going to say, prior to diving deep into the conspiracy theory of reptilians, it kind of seemed like a more, or rather a less likely conspiracy to be true. But after digging through all of the information and the reasonings that people believe in these reptilians, it doesn't seem so far-fetched after all, especially in the conspiracy world. So I am really super excited to bring you guys this information and to just dive headfirst into this particular theory. Much like researching into the Illuminati, I had extreme difficulty in researching into reptilians. It was kind of the same repetitiveness of finding something that seems like a lead, finding something that seems like it's a statistic or factual, and then right next to it is a contradicting article or a contradicting documentary. So I've done my absolute best to dig through hours and hours and hours of footage and pages and web searches and bring you guys a condensed version of the overall reptilian theory. So let's just get right on into it because I have so much to share with you guys and so much to talk about that we have no time to waste. So here we go. So I'm sure you've been exposed to the theory of reptilians at one point or another in your lifetime. More specifically, I'm sure you've seen those trending videos of celebrities briefly showing their reptilian form. I think one of the more popular videos was that of Justin Bieber in court, where his eyes appeared to shift to some sort of reptilian form and come back when he kind of shakes out of the trance. I'm sure you guys have at some point seen this footage, but I will insert the clip right here for those of you who haven't, but it's a very popular reptilian expose video.
Mr. Bieber, you are charged with the following: DUI, alcohol or drugs, resisting without violence.
Now, I am definitely by no means claiming that anybody in this video, such as Justin Bieber, is a reptilian. I'm just bringing them into it as part of the conspiracy theory that reptilians are. So that footage is a little bit interesting to me. I have seen people attempting to debunk that footage in particular and claiming that it was nothing more than a glitch in the camera or a glitch in the pixels. But the only thing that I find contradicting of that and I find interesting is the way that he shakes his head and his eyes go back to normal at that specific moment in time. But let me just tell you guys, something that I didn't realize, that the conspiracy of reptilians goes way deeper than any of these celebrity expose of reptilians videos. Now, the theory that our world is ran by these reptilian humanoids, which is essentially reptilians disguised as humans, gained popularity due to David Icke. Now, David Icke believes that the world is ran by these shape-shifting reptilians who have gained control by taking human form, but more specifically, taking positions in power, specifically again in politics. But also just power in general, and that's kind of how they've taken over the human race, so to speak. It's said that these reptilians feed on human energy and require human sacrifices, but more specifically, they feed on the energy of children. David believes that these reptilians are turning the human race into a slave race. Now, I know this sounds insane, and you might be thinking to yourself, oh, that's just the beliefs of one man, but a study confirmed that around 13 million people believe that our world is ran by these shape-shifting lizards. And these people also believe that they've kind of taken over politics. So I thought to kind of start out this video, rather than diving specifically into what exactly these reptilians are said to be, what they're said to do and the risks of exposing them, I figured we should begin with who exactly David Icke is, because he kind of is the main conspiracy theorist behind this whole entire theory. Now, David Icke actually didn't initially spend his days as a conspiracy theorist and didn't necessarily spend his days trying to share and awaken people to his theories. He actually used to be a sports broadcaster on TV, but in 1990, he had, from what I've interpreted, to be what I can only refer to as a spiritual awakening. However, shortly after this, David actually appeared on TV and announced he was a son of God, proceeding with news that the world would be ending and mass destruction would be hitting, such as tidal waves and earthquakes. Now, when his predictions did not come into fruition, he kind of became a laughingstock, and a lot of people questioned his reputability and definitely thought that he was full of it. But David would actually go on to become a best-selling author and eventually gain both the support and the trust of many. There are so many people who currently believe David Icke's theories. Now, interestingly enough, David believes, and I quote, "The universe is made up by vibrational energy and consists of an infinite amount of dimensions that share the same space." And from this he believes, and once again I quote, "An interdimensional race of reptilian beings have shapeshifted and hijacked Earth." Now, as far as that goes, I too believe that the world is made up of vibrational energy, and I also believe that it consists of an infinite number of dimensions. And I also believe that within these dimensions there are many of things, so who's to say that there aren't shape-shifting reptilians in that dimension? And also, who's to say that they haven't come to ours and hijacked it? Moving on though, these reptilians are said to be around 6 to 7 feet tall naturally, and it's said that they utilize this ultra high-tech, futuristic, alien-like technology to come to our dimension, but also to transport themselves. Now, these reptilians occupy positions of authority, but authority all across the board. Basically, anybody that's in a position to steer the general public or us humans from the actual truth. Now, David believes that this includes Obama, Queen Elizabeth, and the Clinton family, and more, even dating back to ancient times. But like I said, that is just David's theory. Now, it's believed by those in favor of this conspiracy theory that shape-shifting is a very, very real thing, as are reptilians, and that the mainstream media is slowly trying to ease us into it with movies and shows that kind of showcase these types of beings or shape-shifting or things of this nature. Conspiracy theorists believe that they're doing this, that way if at any point in time it's exposed that there are shape-shifting reptilians among us, we're not going to be completely foreign to the idea of shape-shifting because we've seen it in mainstream media. Now, there are said to be 2 types of reptilians in particular: hybrid reptilians and full reptilians. Hybrid reptilians would be a mix between a human being and a full reptilian. So it's a hybrid of both the human race and the reptilian race. Now, the full-bred reptilians are said to maintain control over these hybrid reptilians, who more often than not don't even know they're reptilian. Some believe that celebrities in the mainstream media are actually hybrid reptilians, many of which who don't actually know that they are. So this means that a normal person like you or I, unless you are a reptilian watching this, could meet a full reptilian in a humanoid shell, and they could love each other and have a baby that is now a hybrid reptilian, and that child will go on to potentially never know that they are a hybrid reptilian. And people believe that some celebrities, such as singers or actresses or actors or things like that, could very well be these hybrid reptilians without knowing, and that full reptilians maintain control over them, trying to keep any bit of their bloodline in power and in the position to steer and pull away people from the actual truth of how our universe is being ran, or our world is being ran. Now, when David Icke was asked if reptilians know that they're reptilian, he said, and I quote, "Some do, some don't, most don't." Which is kind of eerie and very interesting, because if you think about it, any of us could be reptilians. Perhaps the most interesting theory where this theory is concerned that I explored is that not just anybody would be able to witness somebody briefly shape-shifting in front of them or be able to identify a shape-shifting reptilian. It's actually said within the theory that those who are clairvoyant or those who are psychic are more likely to recognize a reptilian or to see a brief shift in a reptilian. Firstly, shape-shifting is incredibly difficult to control, and for those who may or may not know that they are hybrid reptilians, it's difficult for them to control in general. Most brief switches in hybrid reptilians or reptilians in general occur in a moment of extreme emotion. So when a lot of anger comes on, or a lot of sadness comes on, or just a lot of emotion in general, like in a high stress time, or when they're going through an anxiety attack, anything of those sorts, it's more often in a time like that for a unintentional shift to happen, such as your eye shifting, which is why a lot of people who believe in this theory actually thought that while Justin Bieber was in court, whether or not he knows he's a shapeshifter, perhaps the stress of being in court kind of triggered this switch in his eye. Now, conspiracy theorists in this theory claim that most people wouldn't even recognize that switch. In fact, what they would recognize if somebody who is a hybrid reptilian or a full reptilian has this switch in front of them, they would just recognize it as a switch of energy or a switch of emotion. But those clairvoyant or psychic may actually notice the human eye shifting to that of a reptilian very briefly, even for a second, or see some sort of a change in the person that they're around or communicating with. Another theory that I found really interesting in doing my research is that not all those who have those slips of the eye or slips of this reptilian side coming through are actually reptilians themselves. As I mentioned earlier, reptilians actually feed off of human energy. So somebody who could be unknowingly in a relationship with, or in a friendship with, or just around a reptilian may actually have a moment where they kind of have a reptilian switch up due to the reptilian feeding off and mixing with their energy. So let's say, for an example, I'm in a relationship with a reptilian and we're switching up energy a lot, and this reptilian's kind of feeding off of my energy, and all of a sudden I have a really high stress moment, but their energy's in my energy. For a split moment, my eye might switch to a reptilian eye, even though I'm not a reptilian hybrid or a reptilian period, which I thought was a pretty fascinating theory. Now, those who strongly believe in the theory actually claim that it's almost dangerous to try to expose or shed light on reptilians. So this video is awesome for me. A man named Richard Bruce actually uploaded reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube back in early 2013. Now here's where it gets really creepy. Immediately after uploading his reptilian shapeshifting movie, 4 LAPD officers showed up at his front door, kind of pretending, in his words, to inquire about the previous tenant that lived there. However, in his eyes, it was made very obvious that they were actually inquiring about him and his reptilian movie. He was then continuously stalked by the LAPD because he felt they wanted to make it very clear to him that his uploads of these reptilian shape-shifting movies would come with consequences. And I'm actually gonna link a link to his personal video down below where he spends a good, I think it's just a little over 20 minutes, going over all of the kind of stalking that happened and the consequences of uploading his shape-shifting movie. So again, this video is gonna be awesome for me. And I mean, David Icke also believes that there's consequences to threatening to expose or exposing those in the shape-shifting government. He actually references Stanley Kubrick and his final film, Eyes Wide Shut. Now, Stanley was, as David claims, to be an exposer, and he wanted to expose this. Now, very quickly after Stanley presented Eyes Wide Shut to the film company, he passed away. And David claims that the ritual in the film is actually a very, very, very mild version of what takes place in some of these reptilian rituals. And that Stanley would know because he was an exposer and he knew all about it. Interestingly enough, after he passed away, they cut 25 minutes from the film that we don't know what it was or what it was exposing or what it was sharing. David also believes that reptilians manipulate global events in order to instill fear in the human race because the reptilians feed and thrive off of human fear. I should also note that David Icke believes that the moon is a gigantic spacecraft, and it's what they utilize to manipulate the human race by manipulating the human mind and blocking and stopping us from seeing what we otherwise would, which would be the truth of what's going on here on planet Earth. Now, the biggest reason that this is part 2 to my Illuminati video is because David Icke believes that the Illuminati is reptilians and that it's kind of one and the same, and their one plan as well is world domination. There's so many documentaries on reptilians. There's so many different theories and conspiracy theories surrounding it. This is really truly just scraping the surface on this particular theory, and my way of trying to condense all of the information that I've accumulated into a cohesive video where it's kind of an overview of everything. But I do definitely encourage you guys to check out Richard's link down below where he kind of explains the consequences to putting out his movie on YouTube. And I also encourage you guys, if this interests you, to kind of look through the internet, because all of these conspiracy theorists, as far as this reptilian movement goes, really believe that they need to awaken everybody for what the reality is and what's really going on, and that an awakening is necessary before the human race is entirely wiped out. I also want to note that I'm definitely not saying that the world is ran by reptilians. All I'm doing is exploring the theory with an open mind and sharing with you guys the information that I've accumulated and kind of built up. But whether or not our world is dominated by shape-shifting reptilians, I guess I will never know. Unless I will, and in which case, that might be a scary time. Well, you guys, that is an overview of reptilians. Like I said, we have a part 3 video coming out in this same field and ball field and kind of exploring these theories. I've been really enjoying kind of switching it up this past week and digging into these theories. But after our 3rd part, I have more haunted content coming. So make sure you guys go ahead and click that subscribe button if you've yet to do so, because we've got some crazy, thought-provoking, ghostly, conspiracy, just spooky content in general coming this way, and I am so excited to bring it here. And I don't want you to miss out if you do enjoy my content. If not, no pressure. My final question to you guys is, do you believe in reptilians? Are you amongst the 13 million who believe that these reptilians exist? Let me know in the comments below, and that is it. If you guys are new to my channel, like I mentioned a few seconds ago, make sure you click that subscribe button and join the Reese's Pieces. We believe in the unbelievable, and we would love to have you in our family. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it, because who knows? Police officers may be showing up at my door and stalking me, or a reptilian might wipe me out. Who knows? But make sure you give it a big thumbs up, because I heavily research these things and it means the world to see that you guys enjoy it. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness, and until next time, I love you guys.